while I was doing my list of, I was doing my list of 200 favorite movies, and I would bring up movies that I thought, wow, that one was just crap. And then I thought, okay, what about worst sequels? No, that's too broad a term. Just most disappointing movies. Because if I get into worst sequels, we're going to be here for days. Because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sequels that never should have got made. So for me, this is most disappointing movies. And I'm going to do this disclaimer at the start. These are movies that I thought, hey, this might be good. Then I watched it and I went, oh, nope. So if you're going, wow, wait, where is this movie? Where's this movie? I probably looked at that and went, that's probably going to be crap. And if I looked at a movie and thought, well, that's going to be crap, and it's funny because when we get to number one, I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do about why it's the number one most disappointing, because I knew the movie would be crap, but what that movie has done has made it the most disappointing movie ever. It has done a lot of damage. Um, so let's start this off with number 50. I don't have the date for this. I know it was recent. The remake of Conan the Barbarian, not the original starring Schwarzenegger, which is fantastic. The remake, I tried. I knew the reviews were bad, and I thought, well, but the reviews for the original weren't great when it came out either, and Schwarzenegger couldn't act either, and so Jason Momoa is kind of it doesn't matter. It was awful, really, and right from the opening scene, I was like, this isn't right. This isn't Conan. This isn't how it's supposed to work. He is Conan, and the movie just it was just bad, bad. And the original isn't exactly Citizen Kane either, but this was just this was this was awful. Number 49. I didn't expect a fantastic movie, but I expected something more than I got with Jupiter Ascending. I expected something that, I don't know, had cohesion or made sense or had characters that I understood what their their motivation was, or that I understood why the villains were doing what they were doing, or something that showed me why Eddie Redmayne was getting praised for other roles he was in. Because after this movie, Eddie Redmayne should have just stopped acting. And he's a good actor, but in this one he just growls, and not like Christian Bale in Batman growls, more of a pathetic growl. Um, it's just it's you the fact that the special effects are pretty good. They're not bad, and some of the worlds they create are kind of fun, and it's just so awful. And then at the end, you're like, oh, that's that's the ending. Oh, okay, movie, have it your way. I guess you've had it your way the whole time. Why am I even here? Number 48. I couldn't differentiate between some of these. Disaster movie. Really, Scary Movie came out and it was a hit. So they decided to make other spoofs. Like Airplane. Airplane's awesome. Airplane's amazing. And all of these are really bad. And Disaster Movie was the one that made me go, oh boy. Yeah. Date Movie was colossally bad too. I don't think I got past 5 minutes in Date Movie. I think I tuned out pretty quick. So it was between Disaster Movie and Date Movie. Just stay away from them. And the haunted house movies they've made, which are supposed to be like, I guess, Paranormal Activity and whatever else, I don't watch them. So you're not going to see those movies on this list because I won't. There's no way. They're awful, just awful. When you show me a trailer and you're like, these are the funny moments, and I'm like, oh, okay, wasn't funny. Then there's a problem. Number 47. This one's gonna surprise people. Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct came out at a time when there were a lot of direct to VHS, direct to video movies, and they were all the same. There was a murder. There was a murder mystery, but really, it was just a cover so they could show you a bunch of sex, and it was going to be raunchy and kind of stupid and kind of sleazy, but it's okay because the chick's really hot, and there's probably multiple girls who are really good looking and get to see him naked and whatever. Basic Instinct is exactly that movie, but on a big screen, and everybody went, "Wow, look at that! She uncrossed her legs." And all I could think the whole time was, "This movie really sucks." It wasn't even a good direct to VHS movie. Like I really thought it was a lousy movie. Couldn't understand the hype for it. Like, oh man, this movie's raunchy. You boy, I tell you. And I remember watching this and thinking, I could go into any video store and throw a rock and hit a movie that's sexier than Basic Instinct. And my dislike of Sharon Stone started there. I thought she was gorgeous coming out of Total Recall. Coming out of this, I couldn't stand her. Really, really couldn't stand her. I was like, wow, and Michael Douglas, that's where I started disliking him as well. It's a very unpleasant movie, and it's too bad because it came out. I want to say 3 years after Fatal Attraction, and Fatal Attraction was a wonderful movie that had some of those same aspects, some of that same trashy aspect to it, but it wasn't this, and it was actually a really really good movie. The Rabbit in the Pot, I tell you, boy, wow. All right, but that's that, and I didn't expect it to be fantastic, but I expected more than what it was. Um, Number 46. Picking a Nightmare on Elm Street movie that's my most disappointing is not easy. Because part 4 disappointed me after part 3. Freddy's Dead was disappointing, but only mildly, because I had kind of expected it to suck. Because of part 5. Dream Child is such a baffling and weird idea. And I almost want to give them a tip of the hat for being creative, that Alice has trapped Freddy. She guards her dream wall or dream guardian gate or whatever the hell. And Freddy can't come back as long as she's alive. But she gets pregnant and he can come back through her unborn baby. Yeah. It's a sketchy concept to begin with. It's weird. It's baffling and befuddling, and I'm not a huge fan of it. There are some fun kill scenes in the movie, but guess what? That doesn't make me like a movie. I'm not that horror fan. I don't go, well, that movie kind of sucked, but man, those kills were awesome. Nah, I remember it more for part 5, trying to push the envelope with violence and a little more gratuitous, and it almost got an NC-17 rating until they toned some of it down. I've seen the unedited footage that made it apparently NC-17. I don't see the big deal, but apparently the MPAA, who are idiots, thought it was terrible. So, and I mean that. I don't understand how the MPAA decides what's acceptable for R-rated and what's not. And to me, some of the stuff that they cut and then some of the stuff they leave in, and I'm like, how? Why? This is dumb. This is dumb. So, anyways, Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is pretty lousy, and it's too bad because there's some good performances, acting wise, but you can't unsee the video game scene. You can't. And it's not the only time you're going to hear that on this list. When I get into the higher movies, you're going to find one where I say you're not going to be able to forget the video game scene. And you'll be like, wow, that's twice. Don't use video game type footage in your movie. And I'm not talking about House of the Dead. House of the Dead was just looked like crap on the surface, and I never thought it was going to be any better than crap. 45. Jim Carrey's made some iffy movies. He has. He's made some iffy movies. The number 23, I thought, all right, well, it's a psychological thriller starring Jim Carrey. I could see Jim Carrey being a Jack Nicholson in The Shining type. I could see him playing crazy, and I could see him doing it well. This isn't it. The trailer looked okay. I thought, all right, well, give it a shot. No, 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 no. Number 23 is mostly awful. It is so stupid, and it really made me start to wonder: does Jim read these scripts, or does he just take the parts, or is he just trying to branch out? So even though he knows the movie's a piece of crap, he's like, okay, but it's not a comedy, so I'm going to give it a shot because I'm tired of being, uh, Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura, and I want to do something more with my life. But number 23 is pretty bad. Number 44. I like Steve Martin, but he's not Peter Sellers. And the Pink Panther remake is an abomination against cinema. Uh, the Pink Panther movies are dumb. Let's just get that right out of the way. Pink Panther movies are pretty dumb, but Peter Sellers as Chief Inspector Clouseau is amazing. Amazing. The scene, "Does your dog bite?" is still one of the funniest scenes I have ever witnessed in a movie. And I remember watching with my friends. And I'm trying to remember if that was that Pink Panther. I want to say Shot in the Dark, but it's not Shot in the Dark. I don't think it's Pink Panther Returns either. But we watched all the Pink Panther movies all in a very short period of time, so figuring out which movie has which moment is hard. I think it was the second one where they have the laughing gas, and the evil villain who used to be a good guy is laughing and saying, "Kill him, kill him." But it's funny stuff, and it works because the acting is so on point. It's so well done. This movie is terrible. The remake is just awful. No matter how much Steve Martin tried, he just came off as a bad copy of Peter Sellers. He's not Peter Sellers. I couldn't do Chief Inspector Clouseau. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't even try. So I applaud him for trying, but it's not the same. Not the same. And it's a shame they made it because it was made badly and it lost money. We'll never see it again. Uh, this one I have to put the date next to it, so I wrote the date down because there are a lot of these movies and there's a lot of them that are crap. When Hollywood decided they were going to do Godzilla in 1998, and they had a really good soundtrack. The soundtrack for Godzilla is fantastic. And I was like, you know what? Good idea. Maybe with the right. Why is he an iguana? Why is he an iguana? How? Wait. No. No. Why is Godzilla an iguana? Godzilla's a dinosaur. Godzilla breathes fire. Godzilla's a T-Rex. He's not an iguana. So when they made it that Godzilla was a giant iguana from an island that had a radiation problem due to the nuclear testing in the 50s, 60s, I was like, no. No. That's not Godzilla. You don't need an origin story for Godzilla. He's a fire-breathing dinosaur who every now and then stomps on Tokyo and then once in a while protects it from Mothra. This is what Godzilla is. The 1998 movie is about a giant iguana that invades New York City, and it has nothing to do with Godzilla. Nothing. It's not Godzilla. And Matthew Broderick is he's likable. Matthew Broderick, whether it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off or Election, he's a likable guy that you can sort of get behind. He's not an action hero, and when he's cast as the lead in this movie, you kind of go, "Uh-oh." And then you watch the movie, and it's even more uh-oh than you thought it was going to be. It's really pretty. It's got its lousy parts, and there are a few of them. Number 42. And this one had to be really, really bad for me to dislike it because I'll get into that once the title's up here. Batman and Robin. So George Clooney's cast as Batman. That's an uh-oh moment. Michael Keaton was fantastic as Batman. Val Kilmer was passable as Batman. George Clooney. Why George Clooney? What in the world made anybody think that George Clooney could pull off being Batman? I can understand Keaton. I can understand Kilmer. I can understand Christian Bale. I cannot understand Clooney. Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, that can be fun. Here's the thing. Batman started out in 1989 as serious. Batman and Robin on its own, okay, without the prequels to what this was. If it was just a Batman and Robin movie without anything before it, we may not have been as disappointed. But considering where it started in 1989 with the Batman movie coming out, or 1987, this is just awful. And I don't understand who greenlighted any of this. It's a mess. And it is a high budget mess. And as bad as you think it is, if you've never seen it, it's worse than you think. It is so much worse than you think. Because then you watch the Michael Keaton Batman with Jack Nicholson, and you're like, this is great. You watch 5 minutes of the other one, and you're like, this is schlock. It would be the equivalent of Nightmare on Elm Street descending to the point where video game footage is used. Oh, yeah, no, never mind. Yeah, no, backtracking. But Batman and Robin is unequivocally, it's awful. And I say that as somebody who loves Adam West's Batman. Adam West's Batman is fun camp that knows it's fun camp, and it's low budget. For this movie to have worked, it kind of had to be low budget. It kind of had to stop being overly ambitious and had to just be silly. But instead they went with high budget and silly and kind of stupid. And it's such a disaster. Number 41, and we'll end the countdown for today here. I didn't have high hopes for this. If it's a disaster flick from Roland Emmerich, I anticipate I'm going to have 3 hours of wanting to kill myself. And I don't think he's ever let me down. I don't think he has. I don't think I've ever had a Roland Emmerich movie that I've sat through and said, wow, I'm better for this experience. I am better for having watched this. I am better for having experienced this. The Day After Tomorrow is not on this list. The Day After Tomorrow is bad science. 2012 is hilariously bad science. 2012, you spend the entire movie going, and they're dead. 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 But since it's a stupid movie, they're not dead because reasons. Just throwing a bunch of crap on the screen doesn't make it entertaining or exciting. It can make it confusing and exhausting. 2012 is exhausting. And then they tack on this kind of happy ending, and you're like, wait, no. What? Billions of people are dead. How are they happy? How there are disaster movies I watch, and I see like the good guys, the protagonists at the end, like, oh, what a wonderful, wonderful day. And it's like, I don't think people would actually feel that way. I'm pretty sure they'd be very upset about the millions and billions of people who just died and not happy that they and their significant other didn't. There might be relief, but flat out joy and happy music and an ending, the credits come up and it's like, yay, we had a happy ending. And it's like, not for everybody else. 2012 just takes this stupid fear that the world's coming to an end that hits every couple of years. Every now and then somebody farts out a new idea of what's going to destroy the world and everybody picks up on it. And it's ridiculous. And I think what really upset me was that Yellowstone. It's Yellowstone. If Yellowstone ever actually blows, it will be the most spectacular, destructive event of anybody's lifetime. Yellowstone is capable of producing the kind of eruption, explosion that could wipe out many, many people. Hollywood is too lazy to make that movie. It can happen. There'd be a lot of warning, though. The idea that just suddenly it's going to blow up, that's not likely. There would be probably weeks, months, could be years of warning that it's waking up and getting ready to blow. But 2012 just doesn't make any attempt to create a scientific anything. And Woody Harrelson's death is hilarious when it's supposed to be stoic. And people keep driving away from death. I hate those movies. Can't stand them. San Andreas isn't on this list, but I could have maybe put it on here if I didn't know it was going to be a piece of crap. I hate the driving away from death because again, it's like you can't drive away from an explosion. Mount St. Helens, I went there last summer, and there are pictures up of people who they still haven't found. There are vehicles that were absolutely covered in ash. These people tried to get away. You can't. You can't get away from a volcanic eruption. You can't drive away from explosions. If a huge explosion takes place and you're inside its scope, you're done. Your best hope is to hunker down and hope it passes over you, or that whatever shelter you're in is strong enough. And that's it. So when I'm watching these disaster movies, it's like they're outrunning an ash cloud with their van. They're outrunning an ash cloud with their car, with their motorcycle, whatever it is. Sort of like that movie, The Crazies. Nuclear explosion, and it's okay because they're in a truck. No, nope, 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 nope. And 2012 for me is the ultimate example of that. Disaster movies are lazy, and this one was the laziest, in my opinion. I know Day After Tomorrow is plenty lazy too. Oh, the ocean got cold, and we're all dead. That's not how science. And during any of these movies, I'm muttering right away. That's not how science works. No, that's not how science works. No. And again, it's lazy because Star Trek shows that you can take science, maybe make it a little dodgy, and maybe bend it to your storyline, but still use a little bit of science in there and make it so we don't all have seizures and aneurysms watching your movies. Roland Emmerich has no interest in that. He just wants to throw as much crap on the screen as possible and destroy as much crap as he can, and it's awful. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will continue this list tomorrow. But from now and until then, thank you very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and I'll talk to you again soon.